13 years ago, he made my life a living hell. He thought I'd forgotten. He thought he'd gotten away with it. But what he didn't know was that I was patient, very, very patient. And when the time came, I sent just 10 letters, 10 carefully crafted letters that shattered everything he'd built. This is how I finally got my revenge. If you've ever dreamed of serving justice to someone who wronged you, hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready for one of the most satisfying revenge stories you'll hear today. Trust me, this one hits deep. Let's rewind. Back to high school. For most students, gym class was just another period. But for me, it was survival. That's where Bill came in. Bill, short, stocky, with the kind of fake charm that only worked on people who didn't know better. He wasn't the most popular kid, but he had that dangerous combination, a small ego, and a desperate need to prove himself. To the teachers, he was just a rowdy student, but to kids like me, he was a tormentor. Back then, I wasn't strong. I was the quiet kid, thin, shy, always with a book in hand. I hung out with the other quiet ones. We weren't exactly targets because we stood out. We were targets because we didn't fight back. Bill noticed that. It started small. A basketball thrown at the back of my head during gym. The sharp sting. The laughter echoing behind me. I remember turning red-faced to see him smirking. In the crowded hallway, he'd hit me on the back, hard, and sprint away laughing with his friends. Sometimes he'd grab my collar and yank it just enough to choke me. And of course, the constant mockery behind my back. You know that feeling when your stomach drops the moment you see someone coming your way? That was Bill, every single day. I'd tell myself, just get through it. Just survive until graduation. But deep down, something inside me was breaking. Bill wasn't just a bully. He was strategic. He only picked on people who wouldn't fight back. He loved the power. He loved watching someone else shrink. He was suspended multiple times. Eventually expelled. But for me, the damage was done. By the end of high school, I walked through those halls like a ghost, quiet, invisible, emotionally bruised, physically tired, constant headaches. Fast forward to my mid-20s. I wasn't that frail kid anymore. Life had changed. I had rebuilt myself, confidence, stability, control. But some memories stay buried like landmines. And one day, out of nowhere, I remembered Bill. I started thinking, where is he now? Did he ever get what he deserved? And the anger, that old familiar burn in my chest, it returned. Not wild, not chaotic, cold, calculated. I found his Facebook profile, and there he was, Billy with a confident grin posing next to his fiancée. Happy, comfortable, living his best life. And that's when the thought hit me. He doesn't deserve this peace. Not after everything he did. Some might say, let it go. But when someone steals your sense of safety, your confidence, your youth, you don't forget. You adapt. You get smarter. And I wanted justice. But on my terms, no screaming matches. No fists. Just quiet, devastating revenge. I didn't go after Bill directly. Instead, I focused on his fiancée. On her Facebook page, I found her parents, her brother, her relatives, her closest friends. Every like, every comment, every family tag, and it was all a breadcrumb trail. Within days, I had names, relationships, and home addresses. White Pages is surprisingly useful when you know what to look for. I drove to a Walmart, paid cash for plain envelopes, then to a drugstore in another city for stamps. No paper trail. Then I drove to a public library in a large city. Used a guest pass to log in, no ID checks, just a fake name. And there I wrote the letter. Dear name, I know this may be odd to receive and I apologize for that, but I feel compelled to send it for fiancé's name's safety. A couple of years ago, I was in a relationship with Billy. At first, he was kind, but over time, the mask slipped. He became violent. He would punch and slap me. Once, he gave me a black eye. Another time, a broken rib that sent me to local hospital. I hoped he'd change. He didn't. When I discovered he was seeing fiancée, I felt a responsibility to warn those close to her before it's too late. From a concerned former partner of Billy's, I printed 10 copies, taped each recipient's address carefully on the envelope. No return address, gloves on, sealed with water, Then, dressed in a hoodie, sunglasses, and a mask, I drove to a busy post box several cities away and dropped them in. 10 little bombs, silent, precise, undetectable. Weeks passed, months. I didn't stalk obsessively, just checked in every now and then. And then, one day, I saw it. Their engagement status. Gone. No wedding photos. No save the date posts. Just a quiet digital breakup. And I knew. I had struck deep. I pictured Billy's face when those letters started circulating. His fiancée reading them. Her family looking at him with suspicion. Her friends whispering, maybe. He tried to deny it. Maybe he screamed. Maybe he panicked. Either way, his life unraveled. No confrontation, no police. Just social pressure, distrust, and ruined reputation. And 1 year later, I sent him one final message. A single sheet of paper. No words. Just a giant smiley face to let him know. Someone's watching. Someone remembers, and someone might strike again. Some revenge stories are loud. This one, it was quiet, precise, poetic. I didn't break any laws. I didn't threaten anyone. I simply told a story, the kind that makes people think twice. Karma sometimes needs a little push, and I was happy to give it. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever witnessed? And of course, subscribe for more stories like this. This is the Payback Room, where karma gets creative.